someone there? You should know that I'm armed. Who are you and what do you want?
Oh, chill, bruh. Like, don't be cramping my wrists. What are you? That's a little rude, don't you think? But I'm a monster.
A monster?
Yeah, you know, like things that go bump in the night. Like you don't dangle your foot over the edge of your bed, cause I might grab it. You know, monster.
Oh, well, you don't look that scary.
Oh yeah, I know.
And why is only one of your hands furry?
Huh? Oh, well, you know, budget constraints.
Show us that dairy hand, Grandma.
Thank you. Please, no more.
When you're a Broadway star like me, Gremlin Lord 615, it's hard to get places. But today, we're going to talk about a Regal mystery movie. It played on October 21st, 2024, and the film is Your Monster.
While battling cancer, Laura Franco is dumped by her longtime boyfriend, Jacob. While struggling to recover both medically and emotionally, she finds out he's putting the play that she helped write onto Broadway. At the same time, she discovers a fast-talking, spooky beast living in her closet. But is he friend or foe? Either way, Laura has to fight for her rightful place in the show.
Rated R.
Laura Franco is played by Melissa Barrera, and this is my first time seeing her in anything, and it was a mixed bag. At first, I thought she did a great job of bringing her character's pain and depression to life. But as the movie went on, it began to feel melodramatic. The amount of whining became almost unbearable. I will say that I did enjoy the parts where she sang, especially in the finale. The monster is played by Tommy Dewey, and now the monster doesn't have a real name, it's just Monster. Tommy Dewey plays the monster like an obnoxious frat boy who occasionally has moments of tenderness. Sure, he might read Shakespeare and play the piano, but he'll be back to burping and making a mess in no time. The monster's speech mannerisms felt like a poor Ryan Reynolds Deadpool impersonation. It really distracted from the performance. It felt like he was just being sarcastic for the sake of being sarcastic. The supporting cast is full of generic, stereotypical characters that you would find in any rom-com. None of their performances were very memorable, and frankly, most of the characters were pretty unlikable. I feel like this movie is going to be compared to another Regal mystery movie called Lisa Frankenstein. The only similarity I found between the two was a sad girl and a monster. While Lisa Frankenstein had a fully fleshed out plot and a unique style, Your Monster couldn't find its footing with its uneven plot. It didn't lead into its claimed genre of a horror rom-com. Any instances of horror were often downplayed, usually with a corny one-liner. I feel like this movie being labeled as horror was a bait and switch. But it was labeled as a rom-com or a romantic comedy as well. And it's pretty light on a comedy too. Monster was used as a comedy device in almost every scene. Again, not horror. He would rapid-fire these zingers and retorts at such a pace that the audience didn't have time to process them. It felt like they were trying too hard to inject humor into the script. Some editing would have helped here. There was some physical humor that was enjoyable, like Laura just gorging herself on cakes and cookies while she's crying, or having Monster scurry under the bed at bedtime. But these humorous moments were rare, and I spent most of the movie just sitting in silence. The plot started out pretty strong. We get a montage sequence of Laura's cancer treatment, her breakup, and her eventual journey home. We meet her frenetic friend Maisie, who buzzes in and out of scenes with her fast-talking vulgarity. Melissa Barrera plays the role of a depressed patient very well. Her performance felt real here. But as the movie dragged on, it felt like her character was purposely trying not to grow. She would have this amazing emotional epiphany and then almost immediately revert back to her old self. Why should I, the viewer, or anybody else in the audience, care about this character who seems so unwilling to move forward? The rest of the plot moves forward with a familiar tone. Laura struggles to move on with her life. The pacing felt really slow. The film dragged in between more pivotal scenes. There was also quite a bit of melodrama. I get that losing someone you love can elicit these feelings though. Laura just struggled to learn from her mistakes. As I just mentioned, she had this huge epiphany in the park. She was coming into her own, realizing that she doesn't have to be a doormat for her ex. She is strong, independent, etc. And then she flounders after this too. Like, get it together, girl. And when she finally does get a plan in motion, the movie ends almost immediately afterwards. There was one scene in this movie that I just didn't like in the least. Now, this is a spoiler, so go ahead and mute the video until this spoiler warning is gone. Okay, so Laura and Monster's relationship culminates in a love-making scene. For me, this just did not work. First off, I don't think they have any chemistry together. Sure, they were getting chummy, but they weren't romantic. Personally, I felt that the Monster was doing his best to kind of help Laura break out of her shell. He wasn't trying to court her. Second, the whole scene felt and looked awkward. It wasn't sexy at all. And frankly, I felt it went on a bit too long. Okay, spoiler over. Come on back. From a visual standpoint, this movie is pretty basic. Nothing really that exciting. The visual effects of Monster didn't work for me either. The first few times I saw him, they were in these quick cut shots, and his makeup looked fine in those. But once he becomes a main character, we get these longer views of his makeup, and it doesn't do him any favors. I feel like he was supposed to resemble Beast from the Disney movie Beauty and the Beast, and he does in some ways. But I think he looks like one of those cavemen from the Geico commercials. The facial makeup looked really stiff, which I think made it harder for Tommy Dewey to express his emotions through the character. I think this led to Dewey using this type of inflection that was way too over the top for most of the scenes that he was acting in. So instead of him saying, "What are you doing here?" he says, "What are you doing here?" There was also some inconsistency with his body here. I know, it's a weird observation. In some scenes, his hands looked almost smooth, but then other scenes, it looked like he was wearing mittens. The finale of the movie takes place at the premiere of the Broadway play. This was my favorite part of the movie, and I really wish that this vibe they give us was throughout the entire film. As I said earlier, Melissa Barrera does a fantastic job of singing in this finale. There was a really high production value. It felt like we were watching a real Broadway show. However, I did find that the final moments of the film ended too abruptly. The audience is left to make up their own minds about what happened. It was very much a Tales from the Crypt type of ending. Overall, I think this movie probably sounded a lot better on paper. Executing a horror romantic comedy film without the horror and without the comedy was definitely a bold choice. The pacing was off, the supporting characters were forgettable, and the two main stars had very little chemistry. And that is why I'm giving Your Monster the unfunny, not scary score of 5 out of 10. It really is a middle-of-the-road film. Sure, you can watch it, but will you remember it? I probably won't. So, did you see the Regal mystery movie Your Monster? If so, crawl out from under that bed and leave me a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can live vicariously through me and all my fame and fortune. Now, if you don't mind, I have some autographs I need to go sign. Gremlin Lord 615, out.
Hey, Gremlin.
From the side,
From the
From the side,
smile. Someone said smile.
Ha 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 ha!